Monday Night Chat with Wong Chen.
Brought to you by the Member of Parliament for Subang.
Hi, welcome to episode 40 of the Monday Night Chat. We're going to talk about climate change. This is the third week in a row that we're going to talk about it. This week we're going to focus on solutions. Number 2, we're going to do the Q&A in 120 seconds. And number 3, we're going to do a segment of Best of Subang, focusing on roti bakar. Yeah. Hi, for Policy Monday, this week we're going to still talk about climate change. As you know, I'm chairing the working group for IPA on this matter. That is why we're going to talk a bit more about it this week as well. But this week we're going to focus on solutions. Last week we talked about all the problems of the world that can happen if the temperature goes from 1.5 degree to 2 degrees over the next 10-20 years or beyond that. Yeah. So what's the solution? The solution is manifold. You can do a lot of things like electric cars. You can do like alternative energy and all that. But the general big solution to all this is called carbon pricing. Now, carbon pricing is not a new concept. It's been around for at least 14 years or more, maybe less, I don't know. But basically in 2006, the UK government commissioned the Stern report, and that was written by the famous eminent economist Nicholas Stern. And basically it introduces, I think, maybe the concept was a bit earlier, but it will formalize the concept of this thing called carbon pricing. Now, carbon pricing, there are two types of things. Carbon pricing is based on this simple idea. We emit a lot of greenhouse gas, and carbon dioxide is one of the biggest components of that. Yeah. So all the emission that you do out there, that comes with an ecological cost, and that cost is climate change. So they try to price carbon to enable people to pay for the pollution that they do. When companies pay for that, they pass it down to consumers. So really, carbon pricing is based on a simple premise. If something is more expensive, the consumers, us, will consume less of that. And if you price the emission of carbon by manufacturers, and as a result your cost of goods goes up, people try to avoid those goods which actually damages the environment because it's more expensive. So carbon pricing is on a simple premise that they tax the producers of all this waste or producers of all this pollution, carbon dioxide pollution, and that they then pass on the cost to consumers. Consumers feel threatened by the price of goods, they will then avoid this kind of goods. Okay, so basically there are two types of carbon pricing. One is called cap and trade, which is a mechanism for you to trade. The government sets a carbon permission or carbon tariff for you to pollute, so to speak, and then if you don't pollute above that level, you save some, you can save those credits and trade it into the system. Some country has it. I think China has been very successful in carbon cap and trade system, and they just come into the block maybe 2-3 years ago. And then the other side of the spectrum is a simple tax. It's called carbon tax. Now, a lot of people try to avoid carbon tax because they don't like the word tax, and politicians hate this kind of word because they will ensure that they lose the next election. But Singapore has just implemented carbon tax. They just tax the polluters. Straightforward, easy to implement. Carbon cap and trade is slightly complicated. It involves a exchange mechanism for people that pollute more, or people who save from pollution and then can trade it, so on and so forth. Yeah. So what is it that we have to do? There's a paper out there written by Dr. David Chua and someone else, I can't remember his name, but basically it's based in a joint publication between I think UM and Cambridge, where they recommend a carbon tax policy for Malaysia. Yeah. Now, let's see how much it's going to cost us. Let's just hypothetically say that we're going to pursue carbon tax like Singapore. We want to tax tenaga, and we want to tax the car manufacturers, and we want to tax the industrial companies that pollute a lot. Say, how much do we have to tax them? Okay? And to answer that simple question, so that we get proper context, don't get just excited because it's a tax is very negative, it's not true. Let's get a proper context of where does Malaysia stand in terms of emission profile of Malaysia. Now, we know there are 317 million ton of CO2, and this is 2014 numbers. The numbers may be a bit higher now. That's the emission that Malaysia emits out to the world. Yeah, and by the same token, we have a lot of forests, and forest consumes a lot of carbon dioxide. What are the sinks that we have? We have about 267 million ton of CO2 sinks. So the net emission as of 2014 is roughly 50 million ton of CO2. So it's not a lot. You take the 50 million ton, yeah, you multiply by a globally acceptable rate of somewhere between $30 or about 120 ringgit per ton, yeah, you get a total cost about 1.5 billion US dollars, or roughly 6 billion ringgit. It looks like a lot, but if this goes towards helping the environment, reducing the carbon emission, and hopefully by disincentivizing people from buying carbon polluting products, we can actually bring down the Malaysian emission level to zero, neutral, net. Yeah, so 6 billion a year seems a lot, but it's not really, because what is the Malaysian GDP? It is roughly 1.3 trillion. 6 billion represents 0.4% of the GDP. So don't diss it out as a terrible thing. I hope that politicians one day will find the political will to tell the people we need to do something, and we need to spend 6 billion a year to tax you so that we can save this money, invest in your children's welfare, plant more trees, do whatever we need to do, but to get us to a zero emission. Note, Malaysia is very low. Our emission profile is actually very, very good, yeah, because we've got a lot of forests. Yeah? But this 6 billion will be greater incentive for us not to buy polluting products and services. Okay, so lastly, I go back to the Stern report. Stern report tells a very simple story, and everybody agrees with it. If you spend $1 today on environmental issue, you will avoid paying $10 in catastrophe later. The Stern report tells us very clearly, if we don't do anything, if we sit on our ass, we continue to pollute, we will be paying a cost around 5% of the GDP a year. 5%. Okay, that's roughly 70 billion, I think, roughly, yeah. 5% a year. In the worst case scenario, it can go up to 20% of GDP. That's the environmental damage. So we know the solution. Carbon pricing is the important thing. Now, the next question is, will the politicians find the political will to carry it out? That's it for Policy Monday this week. Okay, Q&A, 120 seconds this week. We're looking at 5 questions prepared by the interns. Ali, hit the button, please. Okay, PTPTN travel ban on defaulters. It is actually a good idea, because, you know, if you want to fly overseas, buying that passport is 300 bucks. The cheapest flight to go to, say, Bangkok is like 200 something, and you go there for 3-4 days, you're going to spend $1,000. I'm sure you can pay some of your PTPTN loans. So I think a travel ban is important. But there should be a bit of leeway. If, like, for emergency and they have no choice to travel overseas, then the government can give some exemptions on that. Number 2, Mahathir wants an East Asian currency based on gold. This is a very old idea. Of course, we have moved away from gold, and now today the world works on a fiat money concept. It may be an old idea, but, you know, I'm not sure people will actually, which East Asian country, Japan, China, Korea, will agree to this kind of model. But it's a novel idea for us to explore. Number 3, Dr. Mahathir also wants to correct the mindset of people on cash handout. I think that's important. What we really need to do is to move away from direct cash handout or unconditional cash handout. In our manifesto, we always say that it should be a conditional cash handout. A very simple concept is like, you know, if you want to get some money for you know, unemployment benefits, you must show that you make effort to try to get a job. Yeah? Or if your kids go to school and they have a 95% attendance rate, you can give some money to them, so on and so forth. Yeah? Number 4, Apandi Ali allowed to fly abroad. This travel ban, well, you know, we talked about travel ban on PTPTN. I think this guy deserves to be travel banned further. What I'm really surprised is, I'm not sure why we have not taken action against him, because he was the Attorney General that obviously helped to cover up some aspect of 1MDB. Okay, number 5, lastly, the Sumatran rhino, the death of Sumatran rhino, Tam, some people call it Tam, I don't know, Tam. That's very sad news for everybody. But the way forward is really to now find a mate for him, or mate for the remaining rhino, which is a female rhino, from Indonesia, and try to you know, reverse this extinction program. Again, come back to the issue about climate change. That's it for this week.
What is up, guys? Yes, it's me, Nathan, the new intern, back again with the second episode on this new segment called The Best of Subang. So last week was our first episode on the new segment Best of Subang, where we try to promote the best things that is in Subang area lah. So last week boss suggested that we promote curry mee, so we got around people from the Adun's office to talk about their best curry mee that they've had in the Subang area. So this week boss has suggested the most Malaysian breakfast that any Malaysian can ever have lah. So it's roti bakar, guys. We are going to find the best roti bakar in the Subang area, and for me, right, my dad suggested to be this place. Right now, as you can see, I'm at this Padang SS15, and right in front of Padang SS15 we have this restaurant called Q Bistro. It's not your average mama, but it's a bit of a bistro lah. So price wise it's a bit okay-ish, affordable obviously. So well, anyways, we're going to try this roti bakar. Let's go. So I'm seated inside here, Q Bistro. I just ordered my roti bakar, ordered a teo panas on the side. The only reason I'm here is because my dad recommended me this place. So I'm just here to check out if their roti bakar is as good as my dad's recommendation. So the only way we're going to find out is that we're going to wait and try out together lah. So guys, I just tried their roti bakar. It was great, okay, and especially their portion. It was very big for just one person, so I think two people can share one portion. And the price range was just around 4 ringgit 80 cents to 5 ringgit, very affordable. So if you guys are looking to have roti bakar around SS15 area, I recommend you guys to come and try it at Q Bistro. Definitely worth your money. So Tina, where's the best roti bakar that you've had in Subang?
For me, I think it's Good Taste Restaurant because so I tried the char grilled roti bakar, and I think it's much more fragrant compared to the other roti bakars that I've had. So it's quite tasty.
I mean, where is the best roti bakar that you've ever tasted in Subang?
I guess a good taste. Really tasted good.